All right, what's going on, everybody? Good morning. Getting off to an early start. As everybody knows, um, Tyson Fury versus Deontay Wilder 3 is not going to happen this year. It's allegedly and potentially being pushed back to February of 2021. So, a lot of news is coming out on Tyson Fury and what he wants to do. He's been in the public eye a lot. He's been doing a lot of interviews. He's been posting a lot of training footage. So we kind of know what's going on in Tyson Fury's life right now. He looks fit. He looks like he's focused on his boxing career. Uh, it appears to me that the pandemic has not really affected him and his desire to focus on his boxing career, at least from what's being shown on social media and on video and from his interviews, what he's been saying. We haven't really heard anything from Deontay Wilder. He's been pretty hush. This is a guy that normally did a lot of interviews, did a lot of media, was constantly on social media. And correct me if I'm wrong, I really haven't seen too much of Deontay Wilder on social media, particularly doing any training and doing any conditioning work at all. But we have seen Tyson Fury. Now we do know that Deontay Wilder's coming off the surgery with the torn bicep. I think it was on the left arm. He's also torn the right bicep before, broken forearm before, broken his hand. So I'm just curious to see the physical condition Deontay Wilder is in right now because of all the potential injuries and because he's getting older. He's closing in on 36 years old, and I think he's turning the corner in his career. And I think that win, lose, or draw, I think he's looking. And this is just my opinion. This is just me speculating. I'm thinking he's looking to the future and potentially a life after boxing. So, in my opinion, this could be a cash out fight for him. And I don't begrudge him for that. Obviously, when you finish your career, you want to make as much money as you exit. Your last couple of fights, you should always, obviously, I would assume, and I think everyone would agree with this, that you should make as much money as you can in your last couple of fights to set yourself up for retirement, which is what it appears to me to be what Deontay Wilder is doing. But Tyson Fury got a lot of big things on the horizon for himself. That potential Anthony Joshua fight is definitely waiting in the wings for him. It's hanging in the balance for him. Anthony Joshua's got Pulev coming up this year, I believe in November. He's got to get past Pulev. Hopefully, he can do that without any hiccups, so we can get this mega fight with Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua. But the big thing here is now Tyson Fury is saying, with or without Deontay Wilder, he wants to get a fight in this year. Now, is that a smart thing to do? Because we saw what happened before with the Wallen fight. That almost derailed the second fight with Wilder because Fury suffered a huge gash. Uh, if he was in there with a different referee, possibly the fight could have been stopped on the cut. And then the second fight with Wilder would have been over. So he's got to think about not only a second fight with Wilder, but he's got to think about that potential fight with Joshua. And if he were to suffer any hiccups along the way, he would jeopardize not only the Wilder fight, but the potential Joshua fight down the road for all the marbles if he were to get past Deontay Wilder in the third fight, which I believe he will. And most other people agree with me in that regard. So is this a smart move to get a fight in with or without Deontay Wilder? And you guys agree with that? Because there's so many ways to look at this if you unpack it. Because obviously, these guys have been out of the ring, both of them, since February of last year. And if they were to wait to February to fight each other, they'd be out of the ring a whole year. Tyson Fury, I think, is probably looking to get back in the ring in November or December. So, you get December, January. Okay, you squeeze a fight in there by the end of the year. 2 more months, then it'll be February. You know, December, January, be February. If in December, if you fight, January, then February. So, do you really need to squeeze a fight in there? I know you want to be sharp, but you've waited this long. Would another 2 months really hurt you? Now, another way of looking at it is, well, what if he waits till February and then in February the fight still doesn't happen, and then it gets pushed back even further because now you got Dillian White, who was promised a shot because he's going to be the mandatory. I believe he is the mandatory right now, according to Mauricio Suleiman, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that Dillian White has to have his shot, I think, by next year. I think they have to agree to a fight, I believe, by February or March or something of next year. And I'll have to go back and check that. I should have checked that before the show started. That's my fault. But I believe, there's a time frame in which Dillian White is definitely going to be able to get that fight. He's going to be required to have that fight. And Tyson Fury will be required to fight Dillian White, I believe, by a specific time next year. And I think it has to be agreed upon in February or March. So, he's got Dillian White to worry about. So should he take this fight this year or just wait a couple months till February? But that would still be a gamble. Do you guys even think that that fight with Deontay Wilder will happen in February? And would he be waiting for nothing? Would he be wasting his time? I'm not against him fighting a tune-up this year because obviously some fighters want to come back this year. It's not the greatest thing in the world to stay out of the ring too long, especially as you get older. You need to stay fresh. You got to keep your reflexes sharp. Practice makes perfect. The more you stop doing something, the worse it is for you, because practice makes perfect, obviously, in anything that you do in life. So, from a standpoint of being sharp, obviously, I think it would behoove him to probably get a fight in. But again, you run the risk of suffering an injury for a lesser fight, for lesser money, and you could be jeopardizing the bigger fights down the road. So, from Tyson Fury's vantage point, there's only so long and so much time you could stay out of the ring before it starts to have a negative effect on you physically, and not only physically but mentally, because the mind's got to stay sharp as well. You got to keep the mind sharp, the reflexes sharp. Everything's got to be sharp as you get older in the sport of boxing. You got to keep the blade sharp, so to speak. So I'm not really against having a fight by the end of the year because, again, we don't know what's going to happen in February. And for Fury and Wilder to get into the ring together, it's going to require big purses on both ends. And if they're not able to have that live crowd even in February, then I'm sure the fight will get pushed back even further. But then you run the risk of having that issue with Dillian White being ordered to have his mandatory fight. So if this can't be agreed upon, if they can't get a solid date for the third fight, if they must fight in front of a live crowd in order to generate the purses that both guys want and believe they deserve, then we have a dilemma here. And this fight, if we're going to sit here and wait around till a live crowd would be present in this fight, then we're going to have issues with this fight. And from Tyson Fury's vantage point, he's got to get a fight, and he can't sit there and wait around forever. And I get that. So I think it wouldn't be a bad idea to squeeze in that fight by the end of the year. But then you'd have that quick turnaround in February if that fight were to happen, if it was definitely going to happen. So to me, it kind of looks like they're trying to circumvent Deontay Wilder. The problem is I don't know what the contract says. I don't know what the cutoff time is for a third fight to happen. And then the contract would eventually be void if the fight doesn't happen within a specific period of time. I don't know the ins and outs of the contract. I know in a lot of contracts, when there are rematch clauses, uh, more often than not, there's a specified time that the rematch has to happen. And if it doesn't happen within that specified time, then the fight gets voided out. I don't know if that's the situation here. It could be, and that's probably why he may be doing this. That's pure speculation. I don't know, but it's something to think about. And if he circumvents Wilder and he continues to push this, if they continue to push this fight off, then Dillian White's going to take precedence. I mean, his fight's going to take precedence over a Wilder rematch of, because he's going to have to get his mandatory in eventually. But Mauricio Sulaiman has been known to play around with his rules and make adjustments. And I'm sure if Fury got a tune-up in and Joshua wins his fight with Pulev, which is probably very likely to happen, then I think Mauricio Sulaiman would do everything in his power to allow the unification fight to happen. And once again, Dillian White would be left out in the cold. That's just my opinion. I don't know. I don't know if legal action would be taken. But again, the way those WBC rules are written, the WBC allows themselves a lot of wiggle room to get out of these mandatories, because it does say in the bylaws that it's up to the WBC's discretion when to enforce a mandatory. And it even specifically says that WBC would not get in the way of a big money fight or a unification fight if it deemed worthy enough to do so. Meaning if that fight was more lucrative and it made more sense and it was more significant than the mandatory, then they can push the mandatory back once again. They have that discretion. Go back and go. I'm not making this stuff up. Go and read. I did a video a couple of years ago. I think it was last year or a year and a half ago about this. And I was actually reading these laws, these bylaws. And I was kind of paraphrasing a couple of seconds ago. I wasn't reading it word for word, but essentially that's what it says. So they can push back their mandatories. They can order millions of eliminators. So being the mandatory in the WBC is not really a lock for getting a title shot. So you can be played around with. They could dick you around for months, which they have proven to do with Dillian White. So it's not etched in stone that Dillian White will get this title shot against the WBC champion, whether it be Tyson Fury or Deontay Wilder. So he's being left out in the cold, and I'm sure there's going to have to be some type of legal action to be taken. But again, they go to court. WBC has their bylaws. They can reference those, and they would probably win in court. This is why I don't think that legal action really hasn't been taken, because any lawyer is going to read, that statute in the bylaws, and they're going to read it, and they're going to say, we can go to court, but we're going to be wasting our time. So that's why I think they haven't gone to court, and they may not go to court, because it's up to the WBC's discretion. They've given themselves a lot of outs here when it comes to their mandatory rules. So it is what it is. But Anthony Joshua is going to be fighting Pulev. I think it's going to be fought in Eddie Hearn's Matchroom headquarters, the backyard there. Don't quote me on that. I'll have to double check that. But I heard that may be the venue. If anyone knows the venue, let me know, because I'm not sure if that venue has been officially announced. But I'm hearing that it's going to be possibly there, potentially there, and there's not going to be a live crowd there. So if Joshua can fight Pulev without a live crowd, then why can't Wilder and Fury fight without a live crowd, just to get the fight out of the way? I understand, they have the right to make as much money as they want. Why should they take a pay cut? But we have to look at the situation here. We have to look at the circumstances here. And Fury is willing to take a tune-up fight, so I'm sure that would be for less money. But once again, a fight is a fight. Anything can happen in a fight. You can break your hand. You can get cut. You could slip on the way to the ring and blow out your knee. Anything can happen, and then your career is in jeopardy. Anything can happen. So it is what it is. I don't think it's a bad idea to get that fight in by the end of the year because I have a sneaky suspicion that this fight with Wilder still won't happen in February because I anticipate that they still will not be able to fight in front of a live crowd, even on that date. And for that very reason, I think Bob Arum and Tyson Fury's people and possibly Deontay Wilder's people, they're hell bent on getting that live gate money, which was 17 million last time out, and they don't want to leave 17 million dollars on the table, which is understandable. But again, how long are you willing to wait for this fight to happen, and how long are you going to keep both guys on the shelf? So because this fight, even in February, is still not guaranteed to happen, because if it was, they would have had a date and they would have had a venue set up already, which they don't. So because of that, because of all, Vegas could go back and reinforce a stricter lockdown or have more COVID restrictions, maybe go back a phase. They've threatened to do that. I know California and New York have essentially done something along those lines. So if Vegas follows suit, then there's no guarantee this fight happens in February. So Fury's being proactive here, and he's saying to himself, "I got to get a fight in. I'm training. I'm keeping myself in shape, but for what? Might as well get a fight in to stay sharp." My only question is, what's Deontay Wilder's plan? He's not even talking about anything. So, I just strongly suspect that him and his people are looking for an exit strategy here. I really do. I think in the back of their mind, I think they realize that this is a tall task for them, and they could potentially lose the third time around. Obviously, they're going to train the best they can, and they're going to be as mentally focused as they can. And I don't think any fighter enters a fight thinking that he's going to lose. He's going to try to be mentally focused and mentally strong and be locked in at the task at hand and say, I'm going to win. But in the back of Deontay Wilder's mind, he's got to know that he could possibly lose this fight. So I think maybe his confidence may be a little shaken here. And again, pure speculation. But because I don't see him out in the public eye, because I don't see him doing what he normally does, giving interviews, being on social media, showing training footage, because I don't see any of these things, I'm seeing a different behavior. What's up, Blood? How you doing, brother? I'm seeing a different behavior from Deontay Wilder leading up into this fight. Because of that, I'm thinking he's looking for an exit strategy where Tyson Fury is full speed ahead here. I think mentally and definitely physically, he's in a better place here than Deontay Wilder. But again, this is pure speculation on my part. I could be wrong, but I'm just so curious as to why Deontay Wilder has not been out there like Tyson Fury's been out there. Why hasn't Deontay Wilder showed any concern of this third fight not happening? Why isn't he concerned that this fight may not even happen in February, based upon the fact that everyone that's involved in this fight is saying that a live gate is so essential? And there's no guarantee, as I said, not to beat a dead horse, that we'll have a live gate in February. There's just no guarantee that that will happen. So the more I think about it, Tyson Fury getting a fight in by the end of the year is not a bad idea. I wouldn't even be against Deontay Wilder getting a fight in the near future, because it appears to me, and it's pretty obvious, that the people who are involved in this fight, the promotions, the promotional teams on both sides, do not want to leave money on the table. But they have to understand that it's going to be very hard to generate the same amount of money under these conditions that they generated last time. So logic would tell you that they have to be prepared to take some type of loss here. The question is, how much of a loss? I'm not saying like a loss per se, but they have to understand that they're not going to generate as much revenue as the last time. And Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder, I don't know, what their thoughts are in terms of paydays or what have you, because you have to understand everyone's sitting there saying, oh, well, they're putting it on Fury and they're putting it on Wilder. They're saying, oh, well, Wilder and Fury are greedy. But you guys got to understand something else. There's a lot of people in Tyson Fury's pockets. There's a lot of people in Deontay Wilder's pockets. There's a lot of people that get paid off of Tyson Fury and get paid off of Deontay Wilder. So could it be that it's really not the fighters that don't want to take a cut? Maybe the promoters don't want to take a cut. Maybe the people who have a vested interest financially in this fight, people that represent Wilder and Fury, particularly Arum, he's been very vocal about not wanting to lose that $17 million gate. So can we really, really, really blame the fighters here 100%? I'm sure that the financial teams of both fighters and the promotional teams of both fighters are advising these guys to push this off as long as possible in order to get that live gate. But do they have the fighters' real best interests at heart here? Because the longer these guys stay out of the ring, the worse it is for them. The more rusty they can be. Okay? Again, you got to keep the blade sharp. And if the blade is not being kept sharp, then it becomes dull. And you can't cut with a dull blade. Okay? You can't fight to the best of your ability if you're rusty. And there's going to be some ring rust. So why magnify that ring rust by staying out of the ring longer than you really have to? So in my opinion, I'm not ready to blame both fighters. It could be the management teams. It could be the promoters as well, because as I said, everyone's getting a check. Maybe they don't want their checks. Maybe Bob Arum doesn't want his check to be smaller or significantly smaller than it was last time. Now, I could be wrong here because he's already said that he was willing to, have this Lomachenko-Teofimo fight without a live crowd and lose a live gate there. But I think he sees a lot of potential for this third fight with Fury Wilder. And he knows that he has evidence and he has empirical data to show that he can generate a lot of money from the live gate, whereas he doesn't have any evidence that Lomachenko and Lopez would generate a significant huge gate, because obviously the tickets won't be priced as high or whatever. So he's willing to take that small loss in that fight, but he's not willing to take this big loss in this fight. And when I say loss, I mean, a dip in revenue. So, it is what it is. Ibrahim Mail says, why is Fury refusing to fight as mandatory in the meantime? Well, again, you have to talk to the WBC here, because if the WBC is not being aggressive in enforcing this mandatory, then blame them. If they're not threatening to strip Tyson Fury by a specific amount of time, and they're not forcing and ordering this fight with Dillian White, then obviously Tyson Fury is going to do whatever he wants to do in this situation, same as Deontay Wilder did. Hats off again to Joshua in that regard. He fought all his mandatories, never tried to shirk his responsibilities from a mandatory fight standpoint. So we got to give Joshua credit there. Joshua is obviously willing to take a cut in his next fight, money-wise. He's never not fought as mandatory. So we got to give Joshua credit, man. We gotta give Joshua credit. He's doing what these other two heavyweights seem to not be doing, whether they're willing to do it or not, whether they're being advised not to do it. Um, doesn't matter. The fighter is the final decision maker on the team. So I'm sure if they sat down with the promotional teams, their respective promotional teams, and they really wanted to fight each other regardless, they could probably hammer out this deal. So I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. There's just so much to unpack. There's so many different opinions to have here. But at the end of the day, I'm gonna give you my opinion. I'm not against this potential tune-up fight or fight happening for Tyson Fury by the end of the year. I think there's no guarantee that that fight even happens in February. So why risk being out even longer than February? So there's no guarantee that fight happens in February. Number one. Number two, I'm not so sure I blame him 100% or Deontay Wilder 100% because again, I think the teams and the promoters are having something to do with the decision making here because once again, not to beat a dead horse, everyone is getting a check off of these guys. So I'm sure they have a say and they're concerned with the size of their checks as well, not only the size of the checks for the fighters. So I'm sure there's going to be a lot of different opinions here in the chat regarding this situation and this fight. But let me know what you guys think. Let me know what you guys think. And let me know if you think that this fight is going to happen in February. And I'm curious to see if they do set up a date and a venue for this fight in February. And I'm actually thinking about giving Bob Arum a call just to kind of get some information on what's going to happen, not only with Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder, but with his other fighters, particularly Terrence Crawford and some of his other fighters, Jose Ramirez. What's going to happen with these guys uh, as we move into the future schedule of boxing? All right, guys, that's all I got for now. Let me know what you think. Any questions you want me to answer before I get out of here, post them in the chat, and I will definitely answer them. But yeah, just let me know. Dale says, "Do it, Beeb." Another Aram interview. Yeah, I'm thinking about calling him or giving him a shout today. Text him, see if I can get an interview with him today because there's a lot of questions that need to be asked here, and obviously he's not as busy as he normally would be given the current circumstances. So it may not be a bad idea to give him a call at some point today or give him a text, set up an interview with him today. I know it's 8:40 now over here Eastern time, so it's about 5:40 over there. So I got to wait. Maybe I'll shoot him a text later in the afternoon and see if we can set something up so we can get some of these questions answered because everything that, again, I'm just going to say it. So I don't want to be attacked here because I know everyone gets attacked on here when they say something that goes against what other people want them to say. Everything that I said in this video is opinion. A lot of things that I said on this video is pure speculation. I had an opinion on Deontay Wilder. I had an opinion on Tyson Fury. That doesn't mean that I'm right. I could be wrong, but that's my opinion. So this was an opinion-based video. If I get bashed for having an opinion, if I get bashed for having, my own speculation, then so be it. It is what it is. I put myself out here. I gotta deal with the backlash, whether it's positive or negative. I'm prepared to do that. It is what it is. Ibrahim Mail says people need to stop talking about Fury as a great, too much shortcuts and scheming, just fight, man. Well, to support your argument here, Ibrahim Mail, I'm a super duper huge Tyson Fury fan. He's my favorite fighter currently in the sport, but we have to call it like it is. He's never, ever made a title defense of that heavyweight title. Now, we could sit here and say how great he is, but it's one thing to win the title, but you have to be able to defend it as well. So until he defends that title, I think it's going to be hard. I think it's going to be hard to say we can put him in there with the greats. Okay, he's never defended his titles. Never. Now, Deontay Wilder, in fairness to him, he defended his title 10 times. So he beat Deontay Wilder. He also beat another guy that defended his title 10 times, which is Vladimir Klitschko. But how many times can Tyson Fury defend his title? Because we've seen that, last time he won the title with Klitschko, he went on that hiatus. Now he seems like he's willing to fight now, but he's got to defend that title, whether it be against Deontay Wilder, whether it be against Dillian White, whether it be against Anthony Joshua. And he can have a tune-up fight if he wants, but the people will demand a big fight and a tough defense from him. They just will. It is what it is. So thank you guys for showing up this morning. Thank you for giving me your input in the chat. If you, like I said, if you have any other questions before I head out of here, please shoot them in there right now so I can answer them for you. But I'm getting ready to start my day here. Got off to a little bit of a late start, but I figured I'd squeeze this video in before I get my day started because I've been wanting to do this video for a while, but I kept putting it off. But at least I give you guys my opinion, and you guys can opine on your opinion, agree, disagree. But I hope you subscribe. All right, thanks, Blood. Peace out, everybody. I'll talk to you all soon. Have a great day. All right, take care.